research work today on this platform. I'm thankful to Professor Ezai for all of this very interesting platform. So today I will talk about, in fact, it was very nice that we had some discussion about vaccines, and thanks to Dr. Arucha and the audience who asked these questions, which actually relate to my talk a little bit. So today I will talk about small molecule immune potentiators, which target toll-like receptors. And actually, my overall aim of my lab is to develop novel chemoimmunotherapy as well as vaccine adjuvants. Basically, I'm not an immunologist, so I'm a little bit odd with all these audience, but I will try my best to not speak more of a synthetic chemistry, but will present mostly the data what we have obtained, mostly immunological data. So I hope I will try my best to be a part of this particular session. So overall, now you know that this COVID-19 pandemic, which is is currently a health crisis, and since March we all are like trying are looking forward to some remedies in the form of therapeutics or vaccines. Like within 4 months, this COVID-19 has spread through almost all the countries. These are the only few countries which are shown here, which has the highest number of cases. This like India was way down, but now it has reached to number 2, and the things are changing dramatically. I'm happy that the number of recoveries are increasing now, so that is a good sign. But then overall, compliance of citizens with policies such as social distancing, sanitation, and isolation is playing a major role. And I'm happy to be part of the Userin Network's article where we highlighted that national and international cooperation have helped tremendously in curbing the spread of this virus. We also highlighted in this article that there is a need of a global collaboration to facilitate multi-site randomized clinical trials to explore effective diagnostics, drugs, as well as vaccines. And now you know that overall, in the form of drugs, I'm happy that I'm a chemist, and then that there are so many molecules which have been recently repurposed, to take care of COVID-19. Some are working, some we are still exploring. And in terms of vaccines now, almost all the different kinds of vaccines, starting from whole inactivated vaccine to live attenuated vaccine, synthetic peptides, recombinant subunit vaccines, these viral vectors, bacterial vectors, as well as DNA vaccines are being explored, for COVID-19 within a very short period of time. Among all of these vaccines, these live attenuated vaccines, they induce long-lived responses, but there are adverse effects in immunocompromised patients. If you look at the other vaccine, which is inactivated vaccine, it often induces weaker immune responses, and that is the drawback with the inactivated vaccines. The subunit vaccines, the problem with those are the multiple doses are usually required for subunit vaccines. Toxides, they induce strong antibody response, but again for those also booster doses are often required. If you look at the conjugate vaccines, they are quite safe. They are good they are safe for infants. They are highly well designed, but because of their a lot of synthetic nature of these conjugate vaccines, they are highly expensive. The DNA and recombinant vaccines, these are the new vaccines. There are some issues like limited to protein antigen production, and we just had some discussion about RNA vaccines, that they are working well, but again there is a problem of storage and supply. So with all of this, what is important to see that it can take many years to develop vaccines, from proof of concept to preclinical development to clinical development and manufacturing as well as marketing. But in this pandemic time, many of these vaccines are fast tracked into humans, and within a few months, as we can see that there is a possibility of having a vaccine available at the end of this year. So that is quite an I think we all as a scientist researchers should feel proud about this. overall, if you see some data of like about 6 months back, like already there were 114 candidate vaccines, 10 candidate vaccines were in the clinical trial. Okay, and since from March to May, within just few months, the clinical trial, the candidates were like inactivated vaccines, non-replicating viral vectors, RNA, DNA, as well as vaccines, as well as protein subunit vaccines. And there were many in the preclinical trial. From India, I'm happy that like there were several for example, Serum Institute, Bharat Biotech, National Institute of Virology, like they have like their like few candidates in the clinical investigation, and now they are in the clinical investigation. And there were like as of May, there were 30 Indian attempts to COVID-19. So that was really great. What I wanted to highlight here, that there is an inactivated vaccine which is mixed with alum, whereas the other vaccine, protein subunit vaccine, it is mixed with matrix M. So these are the adjuvants. Where if you see this matrix M is a saponin based adjuvant, and the saponins are the steroid or triterpenoid glycosides. So apart from these few like adjuvants what I just mentioned, there are few more adjuvants like alum, matrix, Advax, which is delta inulin, and CPG, which is like these are the few adjuvants being investigated for this COVID-19 vaccine. So what are these adjuvants? If you see overall scenario of the vaccines, earlier days, they mostly they were unadjuvanted, whereas from 1920s mostly like the vaccines were adjuvanted with alum initially, and then there are so many other adjuvants available. So what are these these special molecules, these adjuvants? Why the adjuvants are required for vaccines? And then look at what is vaccination. The overall goal of vaccination is to generate strong immune response. And I think this will be too general for an immunology audience, so I will be quickly tell. The overall aim is to generate immune response, but then early vaccines generate, which is generally used killed whole organisms. They are known to produce severe adverse reactions, whereas new vaccines have a more defined compositions, and they are mostly highly purified antigens. And because of their highly purified nature, they are safe. There is a ease of production and quality control. So because of their high purity nature, they are less immunogenic, and that's why adjuvants are required. And these adjuvants are the compounds that help this poorly immunogenic antigen to induce a strong and long-lasting immune responses, which is an overall goal of a vaccination. Over the several decades, alum was the only adjuvant which was approved all over world, Europe as well as USA. And very recently, some other adjuvants like MF59, AS03, and AS04, they were introduced in the market. And mostly these, if you see specifically, these molecules, the adjuvants which were introduced recently, they are R837. Then you have poly-IC, MDP, muramide dipeptide. Then there is CPG odon. So these are mostly the adjuvants which are the immune potentiators. So these molecules they do not act like alum, which acts by a depot effect, but these are the immune potentiators. They activate innate immune system. So what are these immune potentiators? And let's understand immune system. The immune system has two limbs, innate and adaptive immune system. And you know that when we get exposed to microbes, our innate immune systems which rapidly gets triggered, and it halts the infection, and in turn slowly it activates the adaptive immune system. So the TLR, toll-like receptors, play a role to bridge these two immune systems. These immune potentials are mostly toll-like receptors. I'm happy that the 2011 Nobel Prize was awarded for the discovery of toll-like receptors to Professor Butler, Hoffman, and Steinman. So toll-like receptors are nothing but a transmembrane proteins which has two domains, like extracellular domain as well as a cytosolic tail. And there are so far 13 toll-like receptors known, and 10 are found to be functional in humans. These toll-like receptors, they specifically recognize a very specific molecules, like TLR2 recognizes lipopeptides, and then TLR4 recognizes lipopolysaccharides, TLR5 recognizes flagelline, and then TLR3, 7, 8, 9, they are present in the endolysosomal compartments, and they recognize viral DNA, RNA, and CpG motifs of DNA. So, like overall, like these toll receptors, which are expressed on the predominantly on the macrophages and dendritic cells, they are activated by the specific recognitions of the PAM, which is pathogen associated molecular patterns. And this association leads to the like cytokine production lead to the this association leads to the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and this cytokine production lead to the maturation of dendritic cells and activation of pathogen specific T lymphocytes. So overall, this association is responsible to trigger innate immune system, and then also like initiate also trigger the adaptive immune system. That's how they link innate and adaptive immune system. So this is a very important part of this activation. Like the naive T cells, they have like they can be developed to Th1, Th17, and Th2 as well as Treg cells. Okay, and then the specifically Th1 activation leads to activation of macrophages as well as cytotoxic T cells as well as natural killer cells, and in turn they eliminate the cellular antigen like which is from viruses as well as intracellular bacteria and tumor cells. Like whereas Th2 response leads to stimulation of B cells as well as boosting of immunoglobulin, specifically like formation of IgG and IgG1 and IgG3, which are specific antibodies to specific antigens. So activation of the overactivation of Th1 leads to autoimmunity, whereas overactivation of Th2 leads to allergy. That's why this balance is very important. Alum is known to provoke a strong Th2 response, but it is a weak adjuvant when a Th1, that is a cell-mediated immunity, is required. And TLR7/8, they are known to trigger the Th1 type of immune response. So my lab specifically target to prepare the TLR7/8 agonistic compounds, and then we are trying to mix them with the alum to form a novel formulations which can induce a balanced immune response. So what is our approach? So if you so far I have shown you that these microbes, they have several biomolecules, and what we wanted to mimic these microbes to form a vaccine. So from microbes we can get a specific antigen, and then these adjuvants are nothing but the molecules which mimic these PAMs. So our aim is to combine these antigen and adjuvants and form such nanoparticles or assemblies which can mimic the microbes as a vaccine. So overall, we work on the identification of TLR agonists, and then we also work on their self-assemblies. We also make self-adjuvanting vaccines, as well as we are towards the development of new adjuvant combinations. So in terms of 7/8, what we have done so far? So we have identified that several different molecules, they are known to activate TLR7. So we have taken this imidazopinolene based molecule, which we call it as a BBIQ, as a lead compound from our lab. As a synthetic chemist, we synthesize this in the lab. Overall, from 9 steps, we synthesize this molecule. I will not go into more details about the synthesis. And then we have confirmed that they are known to they induce bone marrow derived dendritic cells, a good amount of IL-6, with a small dose of these compounds. We have compared them with imiquimod, which is commercially available. Then what we have done to find out its effect as a malaria vaccine adjuvant, we isolated Professor Bagai from Punjab University. She is no more now, but we initiated this work. We isolated blood stage fraction from cell-free parasite, which we call it as a 10,000 G. This was then mixed with the TLR7 agonist, and we did a complete immunization studies. Here we injected mice with this combination at day 0 and gave 2 booster doses, and then blood and spleen were collected from various group of on these days 0, 6, 9, 11, and 15 of post challenge. After post challenge, So we have not only selected the did a immunization studies. We also had all proper groups, which is normal control. Then we had placebo control. We had only TLR7 agonist as well as only fraction. So whole immunization study was carried out. So it was very interesting that we observed that the in our group 3, which is our fraction plus BBIQ, we saw that the complete clearance of parasite after the immunization. And in fact, I forgot to mention that here that on day 35 we injected the infection, okay? And then we did the further studies. So here we observed that this adjuvant system is working very well, and we saw a complete clearance. Group 1, which was not infected, so smears were clear, no infection was there. This data is not shown here. But group 2 mice showed an increase in the parasitemia from day 2 to day 15. Okay, so there was an increase. Then group 4 parasite appeared late by day 6, and all the mice of this group also died by day 15. This is the group 4, where BBIQ. This was an interesting observation that for few days we saw some protection, and then we come to the overall. I wanted to highlight that as there was some effect of the TLR agonist alone, that's why we were more focused on to what is happening at day 9, 11, and 15. So overall, what we observed is the increase in CD3 T cells in group 3, whereas it was down-regulated in group 4. So we have the CD3 T cells are involved in activating both the cytotoxic T cells and T helper cells. Therefore, splenic CD3 T cells were further gated for CD4 and CD8 T cells, in which here we observed that the increase of CD4 and CD8 T cells indicated the genesis of effective T cell mediated responses in host against the challenge, as all mice in this group cleared the parasite by day 11. So that was an interesting observation. Then we also looked at the regulatory T cells, and we saw that in group 3 Tregs were elevated, and the percentage of splenic Treg was found to be higher on various days of experiment, suggesting their role in suppressing the inflammatory action of T cells in host post immunization. So percentage of Treg was also higher in mice immunized with adjuvant alone, but no survival was observed in this group. So we are actually trying to communicate communicate this paper. A lot of queries have come, so we are almost trying to repeat many experiments. But overall it was an interesting study. We have some more data. I will explain. So here, we have also looked at the various levels of cytokines. So interferon gamma and IL-12 levels were higher in most mice post-immunized with fraction plus BBIQ on day 9 and day 11, signifying the generation of a substantial Th1 response in host, and that is what was expected, that TLR7 agonist should induce a Th1 response. Due to this, all mice in this group were cleared of infection and survived the challenge. So we observed that this interferon gamma and IL-12 played an important role. Also, we looked at the IL-10 as well as TNF alpha levels. So increased IL-10 on experimental days in these mice may play a key role in inhibiting the Th1 mediated inflammation. That's what we feel. On day 6, TNF alpha was little higher in mice, pointing to the inflammation in host, which subsequently was lowered, controlling the immune-mediated inflammation in host. So we also looked at IL-27, and here we see that also increased level of IL-27, which is responsible for putting down the Th1 and Th17 mediated inflammation in mice. So again, some kind of mixed kind of data. Lower level of IL-27 in mice immunized with adjuvant alone, pointing to the immune-mediated pathology inside the host. So we also looked at the IgG1 and IgG2A responses, and sera levels of IgG1 and IgG2 were also higher on day 6, 9, and 15 in mice post-immunization infection along with adjuvant. So overall, CD4 T cells, CD19 B cells, IgG1, IgG2A together mediated complete clearance of the parasite in these mice. That is what we concluded in this study. After parasite clearance, level of IgG1 was declined in these mice, sustaining Th1 response inside the host. So overall, we observed that in the brain, we observed that CD4, CD3, and CD8 was downregulated, where Tregs were gone up. Whereas in the spleen, we saw that all of these T cells were elevated. In the serum, we observed higher levels of interferon gamma, IL-12, IL-10, and downregulation of TNF alpha and IL-27. And IgG1 and IgG2A were like upregulated. So now what we have observed here, this specific group where BBIQ alone was given, and we saw that for initial days there was a protection. So we wanted to understand what is going on here. So we planned another study where we tried to give a suboptimal dose of chloroquine and then mixed it with BBIQ, and we observed that this combination helped these mice, and the parasitemia, like up to the day 23, we see that like mice could survive. And maybe because BBIQ is a small molecule which gets cleared like in few days. So once it got cleared from the system, we saw that the infection was rising. So overall, we feel that this combination of this immunoactivating TLR7 agonist is playing a role of a chemoimmunotherapy, and maybe we can plan a proper doses of this molecule along with some antimalarial agents can be given. We have also observed such interesting effect like in the leishmania also, and we saw that TLR agonist kill leishmania amazonesis by acting as a pro-oxidant and pro-inflammatory agent. So that was an interesting study with detail. Because of time span, I'm not explaining. Later, we have looked at that this BBIQ also is a specific TLR7 agonist. In the report of 7 cell lines, we have seen this. This work was done at Australia at Professor Petrowski's lab, who also has a COVID-19 vaccine in phase 3 clinical trial. And then we observed that this particular TLR7 agonist, it showed a very good adjuvantic effect for influenza vaccine when we use recombinant hemagglutinin as an antigen. So overall, this study was of pure specific TLR7 agonist. Recently, we have identified a very highly active dual TLR7/8 agonist, which activity is like in nanomolar range. This work, and then this molecule is now we are investigating its effect in all these studies. The data is not yet complete, so I will not be present with that. Apart from these, I think my time is almost coming to end. So I will just tell you that what else we are doing. We are trying to formulate these molecules, and what we, you know that this TLR7 agonists, they are inside the cell, whereas TLR2 agonists, they act on the outer membrane. And the structure of this TLR2 agonist is PAM2CSK4, which is a head-to-tail surfactant kind of molecules. And these molecules, they are known to form assemblies, or they can form niosomes. And that's why our idea was to prepare these niosomes and then formulate this molecule with the TLR7/8 agonist. So that's why two of my students, Ashpit and Poonam, they synthesized this molecule. It was a long synthesis, total 20-step synthesis. And because PAM2CSK4 is commercially available, but very highly expensive, so we synthesize this molecule in gram scale, and then we are working on its formulation. So overall, for TLR2, we have done a lot of modification of this molecule and got a simplified TLR2 agonist, which we are formulating. Some recent work where we have found that TLR2 agonist can be modified to get the improved activity. And then we have also recently formulated this TLR7 agonist with the IDO inhibitor as a where we are targeting to mix this for cancer specifically. We feel that we can target IDO inhibitor as well as TLR agonist together, and we formulated these compounds in the form of niosomes. So overall, today I just gave an overview about what is the status of COVID-19 vaccine, specifically adjuvant status. Then we discussed about different TLR7 agonist development, and also their use in malaria vaccines as well as influenza vaccine. So I'm thankful to like all my collaborators who are helping me to do all many biological activities. I'm thankful to my research group who actually because of whom I could present this work. I'm thankful to Professor Rezai and really grateful that he visited Punjab University personally. He was with us for 8 days and whole his like team from Iran. It was really a memorable event with all of you.